Hi, this is Derek. I want to make this video to talk about something that came up in one of my groups, and it's also kind of something have been wrestling with all year, which is production speed and book quality. So basically, how many books do you have to write a year to be successful publishing or being a full-time author, like to make a living as a writer? How many words per day? How fast? How do you keep a production schedule? And there's two pretty big pieces of this discussion. So if you're traditionally published, typically, like a long time ago, people put books out every 2 or 3 years. If you want to really be like a prolific, traditionally published author, you'd have a book out every year. And that's about as long as the publishing process takes. It might take you a year to write a book, and then it would take you, another year for the editing, book design, publishing, marketing, and all of that stuff. One of the big reasons that self-publishing is so great is that you can write as fast as you want to, and when the book is ready, when you finish the book, you can publish it right away. And also, a lot of indie authors or self-publishing authors have found the best way to get more readers for your book, the best book marketing you can do, is to finish the next book, especially if it's a series and you can link them together. But putting out a next book is usually the best thing you can do. But you don't want to sit on your hands for a year while you're writing a book. You still want to build a platform and do some marketing. You don't just want to assume if I write it, they will come, because that's not true either. But what some indie authors have been doing is really focusing on production speed. So they really write books quickly. They write full time. They write every day. This is what they do for a living. And they're putting out like a book a month, like I said. And that can seem really crazy or intimidating for people who aren't writing that fast, because they do have a big advantage. If they have 10 books a year, then after a few years they have 10 or 20 or 30 books. They'll have a bunch of completed series, which means they can outbid every other author and pay more for advertising, which is basically the way to win with publishing. So they do have a big advantage. It's easy to feel frustrated if other people are just that crazy fast. And something I want to caution you against is the idea that some people will say stuff like, I don't want to put out quick books to game the system. I want to put out good books. And you want to be careful about assuming that good books are written slowly. That's usually not the case. If you're a writer, the more that you write, the more experience that you have, the more books that you publish, you should be experiencing advances in both speed and quality. You should become a better writer easier with less effort and less time. You'll get stuck less often. Your word count should go up. You'll have figured out, how to make this thing happen. That's the normal progression of learning any skill. So if you keep doing it, you should get faster. Don't assume that you're just not capable of getting faster, or that you don't want to be getting faster. And don't assume that getting faster means putting out crappy books, which are written to market, because that's not true either. Interestingly, a book that's written slowly probably took just as much time as a book that was written quickly or in 1 month. Often the difference is just, rather than writing or working on your book for an hour a day and skipping like weeks at a time or months at a time and finishing the work in a year, if you take that hour a day and you write 8 hours a day for a week and you write 40 hours, it's possible that you can get a lot of your writing done. Most people can write about 40 words per minute. It's not impossible to write 400 words for 10 minutes. Often, a lot of readers or writers with practice can write 1,000 words in a 20-minute sprint, or at least like 500 words in a 20-minute sprint. That's about what I do, which means really, if you do 3 20-minute sprints a day, which is an hour, and you do it consistently, you should make significant progress towards your book. I recommend shooting for 2,000 words a day. All the successful authors that I know write about 2,000 words a day. Some write about 1,000 words a day. I think you can start with a smaller goal. Start with 500, then 1,000. But don't just say, this is just my natural speed. There are ways to boost your word count if you want to, if you intend to. And with practice, you can get faster. This year, I hacked all of my processes, and I found that I was capable of writing about 5,000 words a day in about 4 hours. Which is, about 1,000 words an hour, which isn't crazy fast. It's mostly about, spending 5 hours a day. If that's what I really want to do full time, that's a good skill to pick up. But you don't have to write that fast to publish. And you may not even want to, because by boosting my word count to 5,000 words a day, that doesn't mean I'm actually finishing more books. It just means I get burnt out more quickly. If you're developing a new skill and you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone, it's kind of like weight training. You're pulling too much weight too quickly, you're probably going to injure yourself. The more weight you carry, the longer recovery period you need. So if you're really pushing yourself to write quickly, you're going to experience burnout and feel depressed or frustrated. I think 1,000 words a day, 2,000 words a day is a good, reasonable goal for most authors to shoot for. 2,000 words a day is 60,000 words a month. That's how it's possible to write a book a month. And then if you figure out a smart process for getting your cover design or your editing or all the other book launch stuff done, you can shorten your publishing time pretty quickly. But you don't have to publish a book a month. I think publishing 4 books a year, 3 or 4 books a year is kind of what you want to be shooting for. So one finished trilogy, about 180,000 words a year would be a really good beginning target to shoot for. Of course, if you haven't finished any books ever, your first book might take you years, several years. But when you finish a book and you get better about writing to market, or you get better about writing in general, you've learned how to plot or outline your book to avoid the frustration. Often a lot of writers who don't know where they're going, they finish a book and then they get stuck in the editing process because what they finished is a whole bunch of random scenes and they don't know how to pull it all together because they didn't plot it or they didn't plan it with any kind of a story architecture. So that's where a lot of people get stuck. They can finish a book in a month, but then they put it in a drawer and they never go back to it because it's too difficult to go through and edit it or revise it. That's why I really believe in and recommend using a plot outline or some resources, studying writing or craft or story architecture, just so you know kind of where you're going and you have a pretty strong outline. Even if you go through and revise and edit it, you won't need to like shift things or move things around or cut chapters. At least it'll be a lot easier of a revision process, which is also partly how we can write out books so quickly. It doesn't mean we're writing crappy books. It means we are good at writing good books in one take that don't need as much editing. That's a skill you can pick up if you want to, if you intend to. So really quickly, let me kind of summarize. I think your first goal should be 100 words a day consistently. My big problem right now, even though I can write pretty fast, is I don't do it consistently. I take a week off or 2 weeks off, and I don't get back to my novel for a while, and then it's kind of hard to get back into it. Establish a writing habit like Monday through Friday, 20 minutes a day, one writing sprint of 20 minutes. I think that's a daily ritual you can embrace for 2019. I'm also going to put together a little challenge, I think, soon. I'll tell my list about it if you follow me on Creative Indie, where I'll give you like a big prize if you consistently hit a daily writing word count goal. But we'll talk more about that later. You can follow me or join the Guerrilla Publishing group on Facebook. But I do think establishing a word count, not necessarily even a word count goal, just a time goal. Set a time, like I'm going to work for 20 minutes a day. Maybe later you can increase it to 40 minutes a day. But what you should find is that 20 minutes a day gets easier and easier. Even if you just sit down and write 100 words, eventually you'll get to 500 words, then you'll get to 1,000 words. Maybe 1,000 words in 20 minutes is pretty fast, I think. I think 500 words is kind of reasonable. But if you do 20 minutes a day, if you do an hour a day, like one when you wake up, one when you go to sleep, you could get to 1,000 words a day, which is really enough to write 3 or 4 books a year. And if you want to get better at it, you can get to 2,000 words a day and put out like 6 books a year. That's kind of my current goal. 6 books a year would be fantastic. So my main points in this video: don't compare yourself to others or feel bad because you're not as fast as other people are. They're ahead of you in the game, or some people naturally have different strengths. Some people are pantsers and they write really fast, but they don't have strong story architecture. Maybe their books are doing really well, maybe they're not. They do have an advantage though, like I said, so don't just give up and say, I'm a slow writer, or, well, I don't write that quickly because I write good books, or my books, are deep or whatever. It's a mistake to assume your books are better quality because they're slowly written. Readers won't necessarily pay more because you spent more time finishing the product. So it's kind of an important lesson. You should be challenging yourself, but also you should be letting yourself recuperate. If you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone, you're going to need just as much time to relax and recuperate. You can't consistently be busting out whatever's a challenge for you. If it's 2,000 words a day or 5,000 words a day, whatever's like your stretch goal, if that's hard for you, you're going to need more time to relax or recuperate. You can't just keep doing it every day because you're going to burn out. When you do burn out, which is totally normal, don't feel bad about it. Don't give up. Burnout is part of the process. When you work on something really hard for a long period of time, you're going to feel frustrated and depressed. That's part of the creative process. Relax, let it go. Spend a couple weeks watching Netflix if you have to. When you get back to the enthusiasm and the passion, you can pick it up again. So I hope this video helps a little bit. 1,000 words a day is, I think, a really strong goal that anybody can reach, no matter what kind of writer you are or what kind of books you want to produce. 1,000 words a day will definitely finish a finished book a year, but probably 3 or 4, one trilogy or one quintet, I guess, if they're shorter books. Kind of depends on what you're writing, but you don't have to be crazy fast. Charles Dickens wrote 500 words a day, and he was considered prolific. And his Christmas Carol was only 30,000 words. He wrote it in 6 weeks. It's totally doable because it's only 500 words a day. You can be as prolific as Charles Dickens. It's not a crazy amount of writing to do. It's like 20 or 40 minutes of writing a day. It's mostly about a consistent writing habit, not actually writing more words per day. So I hope this video helps. Bye-bye.